not wrote it.
Well, you just Sandy wasn't even.
Thank the Lord above for red lights.
Praise him.
Well, great, you guys. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Let's Talk podcast. And we thought it'd be a cool idea for us just to do a little bit of a season wrap-up. We are going to wrap the season here and look to come back a little bit later in the year with some fresh stuff for you guys. And so I thought it'd be cool to have the whole full crew on here. And for us to just talk a little bit about this last season, you know, what do you think? What were the highlights for you guys?
Even we didn't get the questions.
Yeah.
So we don't know what we're doing here other than talking about last season. So
Nobody gets the questions.
nobody
right?
gets the
That's
questions.
part of the deal.
We don't even get the question.
Sheesh.
Highlights.
Dude, it was so sick. No, I think it was so cool. I mean, just because I can't even remember what we started off with, but I just like how it like progressed into this thing of just like the miraculous healings and like all these testimonies and just getting all these like, I don't know, just hearing voices of so many different people like walking down like different things and stuff. So
Very cool.
that was like a highlight for me. So
The cool thing with all of those testimonies was like God moved in a different way with each one of them, right?
Yeah.
There was no like prescribed way, you know. It's like you can't. That for me was the fascinating thing, you know, from Jeff and Lindsay with their journey and Mike, you know, with his cancer struggle, and then Laurie Lehman was absolutely mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then Hannah Sudworth as well. I mean, just absolutely fascinating, the God on the move in our day, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's, like you said, each time was different. So some of the stories had a lot of medical influence. Some of them had a whole lot of spirit power influence. You know, and some of them were a mix of between.
Yeah.
You know, so there isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it really interesting. Complicated, but also interesting. God moves however the heck he wants to move.
No, exactly.
So, yeah.
And I mean, listen, all of them were absolutely mind-boggling, but I don't think, because you did such a great job on editing Laurie's testimony, I don't think people realized how mind-blown I was by that thing. And there was a moment in that testimony that I was just like, I couldn't even think. And I turned to you guys and go like, can somebody ask a question? Because I'm like, I'm lost for words. And then Laurie answered it very professionally. You guys asked the question, she looked at me and answered the question, and so you cut that other part out and it looked like she answered a question that I asked, but I was like, my brain was blown by some of that stuff, you know.
Season 2, we should get our own little booth over here with our own camera, so we can just add commentary the whole time while you're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a dumb question, ask this question. Christine, say something smart.
Yeah, exactly.
It's falling apart.
Christine say something smart, she goes, I usually don't.
That's why I stay quiet. I just usually don't say anything.
I thought it was interesting I mean, it was 2020, late 2020 when we started.
Yeah.
We're now in September. This is September 2021.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just the volatile nature of the year, even within the church. I mean, there's so many different opinions and conspiracies and people just trying to do the right thing, the whole gamut. And what I thought was interesting is that we couldn't avoid it.
Yeah.
You know, like we just went there, like all of our guests, like at some point they went there.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I really appreciated with the guys that we had on, and gals, was that it was so Jesus focused.
Yeah.
And it was personal responsibility focused. Yeah. And it didn't ever get into this like, you know, these mantras of you know, political rhetoric or doctrine even. You know, it was just maybe doctrine in the sense of Jesus. But I thought that was neat. I loved what Steve Sudworth had to say about community involvement and just, you know, what are you doing about your situation? What are you doing about your community? What are you doing? Because that's not, if anything, I guess it might be happening from the pulpit as far as like people being vocal, but even that can be skewed, you know? And so it was interesting to hear what he had to say, and then you juxtapose that with Jody and just his perspective coming from a minority community, running a minority church.
Inner city church.
Church. And just kind of, I mean, there's a couple of times that we shot that, and then we're like, we need a part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, we pulled him aside and we're like, dude, that was awesome. You just said a lot of things that could confuse white people. So let's go back and sit down and say more things, you know, and he was so gracious, you know, in doing that.
But also vulnerable, and that's what I loved about Jody. You could see just the pain on his face and the concern on his face for his community, you know, that in some ways they feel like they've been left behind in some of this stuff, you know what I mean?
And because you don't get, you know, so many of the podcasts, and I mean, it's not even really news anymore. They're personality commentaries, you know. And so what I liked about this past season is that we stayed pretty conversational. You know, it wasn't really just this is what I think, you know, and whatever. Libs are stupid, you know, or whatever that is, you know, like it stayed conversational, and you could tell, I didn't edit a lot of it in, but there's a few times you gave that, like, I don't agree with you face, and I'm trying to size you up. Should I kick you out now or not?
Like, this is my happy face. There's a few times that you got my happy face on.
So it was, you know, you could tell there was some back and forth that were, I think, productive, you know, because it wasn't just my way or the highway.
But I think, to your point, Mark, and I mean, you know, if this is just about my thoughts and opinions, we can come in here every Wednesday and I do a monologue. That's not the point, you know what I mean? And so I think going forward, even and as we start to plan and pray through and script next season, I want guys on here that disagree with me and I disagree with, you know what I mean? Hopefully respectfully.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
just have me on more.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Oh man.
But I really do want that, you know what I mean? And honestly, I mean, how we scripted this thing was real conversations with real people, and we have to believe and understand there are real people that really disagree with us, and so and I think we've had this conversation a few times, right? The forums to have those conversations are getting less and less. There are less and less forums where we can have those conversations because everybody wants to slam their Bible and walk out, or you know what I mean? Just write people off immediately out the gate. You think differently, so you've got nothing to say, and that's not the spirit and the heart of what we want to do here. You know, I really would like those kind of things. You know what I mean? So we need to think more about that. Yeah. Let's have more people on here that don't think like us. Christine.
To find them.
Okay.
Go find them. Please
just send me an email if you disagree with everything TK says. Let me know. You can be on this podcast.
Let's talk videocast at gmail.com.
I know.
Put it right here.
I disagree with TK. Perfect. You're on.
On this point.
Yeah.
You schedule.
Perfect. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Too funny.
Yeah, but honestly, we do want that. You know, like I said, if it's just my thoughts and opinions, we can do a monologue, and actually, we pretty much do that every Sunday. You get my thoughts and opinions every Sunday. You know. So
out of everybody that we had on, what did you learn anything? Like, did a light bulb go off on any particular issue, or did you walk away going, I did not think it was going to go like that?
Almost every one. You know, because like we joke about it, but it is the reality of it. Nobody gets the questions, you know, and to be honest, giving our secrets away for anybody that's going to come on in season 2, like often I just have a starting point. You know what I mean? It's like we know what we wanted to talk to Jody about. We knew what we wanted to talk to Steve about. When we had Ty on, we knew we wanted to talk about Base Church. And so I have that as kind of like a point of departure, and maybe 2 or 3 questions, you know what I mean, to like direct the conversation a little bit. But I mean, it would be a completely different show if we were like, I show up here with 7 questions and we have to get through those 7 questions. Because what if question 2 takes us down this pathway, and then I'm like, okay, well, enough of that, let's get back to question 3 because I have to hit all these markers. And so that's my thing of like, let's have a starting point. So to answer your question, I think almost everyone, I was surprised by where it went. You know, I think Jody's one was probably a big surprise for me. You know what I mean? Just to where it went real quick and real deep, and he got real vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, I absolutely loved it. I am a relational guy, so I like sitting around and talking about these things. And so, again to a comment you made earlier, I mean, we started this thing out of COVID. We started this thing because we were limited in those conversations, and so we started to do that kind of thing and just started to put it on camera. And so I believe Let's Talk has morphed already.
Oh yeah.
And I think it'll morph again season 2 and beyond that, you know what I mean?
By the end of season 2, it's just going to be you doing monologues.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Me just driven us off.
Me just
Yeah.
yelling at the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to want to come on, so after this one, so.
Exactly. No, but I do think that, and I mean, I think that's a great question, I mean, I think I've learned from every one of my guests, and I've been at some point surprised by every one of them. You know what I mean? Just to where they will go and how vulnerable they would be on camera when they know this is not a local church thing.
Right.
This is out there, you know what I mean? And I think the if I could just say this, the cool result of that is I've had positive comments or ministry related comments like, wow, this really changed this for me, or this really opened this up for me, literally from every single episode. And we're not getting millions of views, but there's a ministry application to this thing that almost every episode that we air, I'll get a text, a phone call, email or something, or comment, just to say, man, that was so helpful, I really needed that at this time, or etc. So
Right.
listen, it's been a fun project, and it's hard work. You guys put in a lot of hard work, especially you, Mark, with the editing and all that, and we deeply appreciate that, you know what I mean? And so Christine does a bunch of stuff.
I'm just
as
here
well.
to have fun.
Does all the booking for us and all of that, and but it is that, you know what I mean. For me, it's been a super fun exercise, and I want us to continue to have fun with it, you know what I mean. While we get down to some real things, to some nitty gritty things.
Right.
So
I think you said a couple Sundays ago or whatnot, like we just lost. Be able to get down to the nitty gritty, but like walk away in respect, you know what I mean?
No,
like
exactly.
And fun even,
No,
it's like
exactly.
we just kind of lost that art of communication. So
we really have.
I mean, I think we said it before on here, we know this isn't going to change the world,
Yeah.
but if it helps, hey, these two guys are talking about, I mean, even just with us and Jody again, it's like, you said some stuff that I don't get. Like, let's talk about it more. Just that act of exploring deeper what somebody's trying to say. I think that hopefully this helps in some way resource people to do that,
Yeah.
Even if it's just another question of what do you mean,
No,
'cause
exactly.
I don't feel like we're asking that as a society.
Yeah.
It's just, you said something dumb, I don't like it, we're moving on.
No,
And it's
exactly.
like, that's,
No, you're right. I mean, the tendency in today's society is to write that person off completely. You know what I mean? Block, unfriend, whatever, all those social media things are that we want to do to people. You know what I mean? And I think we've lost the art of robust conversation. You know what I'm saying? And just like being able to say the tough things to each other. And I mean. So I think this is a great forum for that. You know what I mean? And I trust that people are watching. If they get nothing out of the episode, they get the value of being able to have real conversations with real people, and not being able to walk away in a huff. You know what I mean? This guy thinks differently to me, believes differently to me. Whatever it is, it doesn't make him the enemy.
right.
Or doesn't mean that I can never have a conversation with him again because he thinks or believes differently on some issue. You know.
Right.
So I think those are the. I mean, if people get that out of this, we can have some real conversations,
Right.
and it doesn't have to end in a fist fight.
Right.
Although sometimes it should.
We should.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be our next topic. When is it appropriate to switch to fisticuffs? Maybe
No.
we really should do that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Christine, we'll have Christine throw gloves. That's it. While we hide behind the desk,
That's right.
Christine
That's fine.
puts her dukes up.
Yeah.
So I think all those things are cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I think there's more to come, you know. And like I said, hopefully we can have more guests on, more people on that are even more different. You know what I'm saying? And, to be honest with you, we never set out for this thing to be a church podcast. We never set out for it to be a leaders podcast or a pastor's podcast. It's just an opportunity to have some real conversations. And so in that context, it doesn't even have to be a believer sitting in that seat.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think sometimes even for us as believers, we get so involved in churchy things, we miss out on those conversations with the unbeliever that is like, no, actually, that's not how it works in the real world. Mm-hmm. This would again be a great place to be able to have some of those comments and again expose people to actually how other people think or believe, you know what I mean?
So racy. Crazy.
Let's get crazy, bro. Let's get real crazy. Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's get on the road.
Yeah, let's take the show on the road.
Take it on the road. We'll get a van. Find us a van.
Yeah, you're in charge of all that stuff, Christine. Find us a van.
Okay, we'll do. That's funny.
But yeah, like I mean, just for you guys, I mean, just like I said, deeply appreciate all the work that goes on behind the scenes. I really do. I mean, I get to be in front of the camera and have fun with some of my mates. You guys do the hard work before that happens and after it happens. You guys are doing the hard work, and so I do deeply appreciate you both. Tell me what you're hoping for season 2.
Money.
Okay.
Kidding.
Kidding.
Yeah, we need to see some cheese from this.
The cheese.
Scared.
Don't be scared. It's fine.
Okay.
Christine's sitting in the middle of her. She's nervous. She's trapped. She's like, how do I get out of this?
These two make me nervous.
Well, I don't think, I mean, as of right now, whatever, September 1? This is September 1st. 2020, COVID's not gone. It's around. Things are happening. Politics are still a mess. You know, so I'm just, on one level, I'm hoping
are you trying to trigger me? What's your goal here? Because I asked about season 2, and that looks like you're coming at me. So
well, get ready for a real conversation.
Okay.
You know, politically, I mean, all the Afghan stuff just happened, you know, like, it's not better. You know what I mean? It's not, we're not out of the woods. It's not over.
Yeah. So
I think on one level, I'm looking forward to how do we continue to either resource people or just think about how do we proactively walk through this stuff? Because, you know, we've scratched the surface a few times on like respectful conversations and different beliefs, you know, but there's some real challenges in walking away from a conversation you don't agree with and still maintaining respect for someone. You know what I mean? Like, and, you know, so I think there's still stuff to be learned there. I think there's still stuff spiritually, you know, having Andrew back on again, potentially, and like operating, you know, within, you know, with the gifts within a tumultuous time like this, you know, like just exploring more of those things, you know, and, you know, on some level.
How about keeping your head when the whole world's gone mad? I'd like to talk about that a little.
A little bit, we could do that. Because I mean, I think there's a lot of bubbles. You know, like everybody in their bubble has experience with that bubble. Sure. You know, and there's other bubbles that are a little bit bigger, you know, and so, I mean, from my perspective, there's still a lot going on. Sure. You know, but my wife works in an industry where she's heavily involved in COVID, and people are still very afraid. People are still walking through this thing, and there's still, I think, stuff to be worked out. You know, we can't just, like you said, slam our Bibles or put our flags in the ground. I think there's more ways to practically look at what is living like Jesus and having Jesus be the common denominator. What does that actually look like in everyday life in a country that's torn ideologically, facing a pandemic that the world is dealing with too? You know, I think there's some, the Sunday school churchy answers don't always work. You know, so what does that look like walking through? I think there's a lot of opportunity for that. Just to help people to quit being jerks, really, at the end of the day. TK.
Oh man, I think even just going off of that too, I mean, Michael touched on the thing of like spiritual gifts and stuff, And I think going off of that, it's, you know, what is our role in a broken world? Like, how can we be the light in everything that's going on? How can we, you know, go and get people saved, you know, like there's lost people, you know? And I think just like the heart of that is, God, like, how can you use us? How can you use me? And I think it was so cool season 1, like having, you know, people like Steve and like Jody and like hearing these people's testimonies. But then I think going into season 2, we can have more of like a diversity in the gifts where it's like, okay, actually let's talk about the Holy Spirit. Let's talk about, you know, just the gift of teaching, or what is a woman's role in this thing, where it's like,
there we go.
I went there.
There we go.
Well, because in my perspective, I mean, I'm looking at it and it's like, I mean, I hear and I understand what Steve and Jody, but it's like, for me to actually walk that out, it's like, that's just not what I'm called, and that's just not what it's gonna be. So it's like, okay, so how can I, a 21-year-old woman in America, what can I do? You know, and not to like get political or whatever it is, but
do it.
Nah, I don't really know. I don't know. No, I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, I just, I feel like there's just like a lot to speak on that, and I mean, and it was so cool just having a bunch of like young ladies and stuff, but it's like, you know, I know there's like remarkable young ladies that are just doing things, and it's like, you know, more of that, and just to get, you know, these like girls stirred, and like knowing that they have a voice, they have a call, like they have a gifting, and just going out there and, you know, walking in it. So I'm excited for that.
So can I touch on that for a second?
Yeah.
We gotta wrap this up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, it's your show.
Because, you know, I've had a few conversations with young ladies of late, you know. I mean, you and Caitlin, obviously, but Hannah Sudworth had some things to say about this as well, around the dinner table, you know. And then another young lady in North Carolina, I don't know if she would want me to mention her name, but I've actually asked her to come on the show. And it is around this thing of where's my role, you know. Now, I mean, my conversation is I don't have a concept for it. Do you know what I'm saying? It would be like, I mean, we desperately want a multicultural church, you know, but I don't know how it would feel to be the first black guy at Redemption City Church. I don't know how it would feel. I don't know how I would have to go and be the only white guy in a black church to have a concept of how that feels. The challenge is, though, if we can't have these conversations, then we never get that perspective.
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing from these young ladies, straight up, is they're ready to quit on the church. And I'm like, that's a tragedy. Because think back to the race example that I used. You know, I would love those perspectives. I'd love those voices, even in the life of the church. I'd love to see greater diversity on our leadership team or something. But if you can't push through that resistance, and there's an onus on us as well, but if you can't push through that resistance, then we never have that voice.
Yeah.
And for these young ladies that are like, I'm about done with the church, for some real reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do I have to have a ring on my finger and have a man attached to me before I have a voice? That's a real question.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a real question, you know? And so it's like, but if we can't push through that, and if we can't have those conversations, then we lose that perspective. Then we lose young, single, gifted, anointed people,
right,
from the church.
Yeah.
Is that really something we should be? That feels like that should be a conversation that we have in season 2.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of times, because I don't know if one conversation resolves that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so, I keep thinking, I keep saying to Mike, he's trying to get me cancelled, and now Christine's trying to get me kicked out of the church. But
the fact that those things are like the polar opposites is an issue. Maybe we should have a talk about that. You're either canceled or kicked out of the church.
Either way, I need a break, so I'm happy. So.
Well, that's why we're taking a little break.
I need a vacation.
Yeah, okay.
But I think those are the kind of real things that we need to get into. And let me tell you something, man. These young ladies that I spoke to, including the two of you, none of them have got an issue. None of them are trying to press an agenda.
Right.
There's this real question, like, where's my place
Right.
in this thing? You know what I mean? That we call local church. Where's my place? Do I have a voice? And so I think some of those are real questions that we're going to have to answer. And like I say, I mean, all those young ladies spoke to me with pain in their voices. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A little bit like Jody when you're talking about the race issue, and he's like, I lead a minority. You can hear the pain, you can hear the vulnerability, and so these girls, same thing. And Jody was on here. He's not pushing an agenda.
Right.
And when I have conversations with these young ladies about where's my voice, there's no agenda. There's just this pain and this deep question of like, where do I go from here?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's epic. You know, because it's not just young women.
Yeah.
You know, my experience being on church leadership, my wife had the same issues about having a voice and being respected as somebody even of leadership. And so it's just this notion of, and I think you hit it on the head, it's not just one conversation. I think that's the danger people get into when they put forums on like this. Like, okay, we had the conversation, we answered it. It's like, no, I mean, it's different in lots of different places, cultures, whatever, you know, but to your point, starting the conversation, I mean, that's the brave thing, I think. If we can inspire leadership at churches to sit down and start conversations, they may not go well, but at least we've started the first step in going down that stuff.
I read just a short thing the other day about this, and it's about this thing, and I am trying to pray it through and work it through in the scriptures, but then you start picking up other stuff, and so I read this. This is a book that came out in 1993, and I planted my first church in 1994. And it's by a guy by the name of Gerald Coates, who was an apostolic team leader. Him and Dudley were friends in the early days of NCMI. And so he had his apostolic team write a book, and each of them wrote a chapter, you know. And so he's got a woman on his apostolic team. I can't remember her name now, but she wrote a chapter on women in ministry and called it Frozen Assets.
Wow.
And it was brilliant, right? But she tells countless stories. She's on the apostolic team as a woman, right? And showing up at a conference or a leadership thing and always having to field these kind of questions, like, whose secretary are you?
Yeah.
Right.
In other words, the only reason you could be in this room is because you have to be helping a man. It's so degrading. It honestly is. I mean, like I said, I've got no idea what that feels like, but when I read those comments, I'm pained for that thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've got a daughter. You've got daughters. You know what I'm saying? We've got these young lionesses that are so faithful and so passionate about the things I've got. It's like, so is that it? You know what I mean? Right. Make tea, serve cookies, that's your call in the kingdom. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me.
Well, worship team probably, too. Well. Haven't seen you up there yet.
No. One thing at a time.
But I'm telling you now, so I think it's a real conversation.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we write off. Listen, if you just prepare to draw that line, if you just...
Yes.
Say it. Say it. I'll say it.
Well, there's two things here, right? If you prepare to draw that as a hard line, you write off half the church's gifting, anointing, capacity, capability, etc. You write it off.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to edit this.
I'll make this part really loud. Yeah. And I'll subtext it all with bright letters.
But the point is that the qualification for leadership?
Right.
Male genitalia, is that, I said self-censored myself there.
Good job. You're growing.
Thank you for that.
I'm growing.
You're doing a great job.
I'm learning how to, but, bro, because I feel like that's quite a low bar.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, where are we?
Yeah.
So we need to get... This is a multi-part series. I think
you're going to have to edit.
We're going to get a young gal on, we're going to get an older gal on, and then we'll get a dude on who thinks they don't have any place, and then you guys can duke that out. It'd be great.
That sounds fun.
That's the look right
Sounds
there.
fun.
That's the look when he's like, no, I don't.
The silence is when you know.
Yeah, those are the looks I
Loud
edit out.
silence. No, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, even just like from my perspective, we've had some like great conversations about it, and it's like, I mean, so many times I hear this thing where it's like, there's so much more for you, like this and that, and all of that. It's like, at what point do I have to start like limiting myself and start having to know, okay, like I've reached it and there's not more I can go from here just because I'm a woman. So I don't know.
That's super sad.
It is.
I don't know. So,
It is.
but I mean, I don't know.
I'm upset for you.
I do want to throw blows now. All of a sudden.
Right?
Oh my goodness. But,
Yeah.
No, but seriously, so I mean that's part of that thing, right? This is real conversations with real people. It's like, you know, do I care if you like it? Yeah, not really, but actually we have to. I mean, a lot of times I try and care and then I don't, and so then, but we still have to do what God's called us to do. You know what I'm saying? So if we have to have some real conversations with young woman leaders, with people of color, if we have to do some of those things, then that's what we have to do.
yeah.
And like we keep saying, this is the forum for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because even if we get mad with each other, guess what? We have to all show up here again next Wednesday and shoot another episode. So,
Right.
It's true.
It's like family.
dysfunctional family. Maybe.
Show me a family that's not. That's my challenge to you.
So give me. Those things are already. See, it's like it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me 2 dream guests for next season. Look in the camera and invite them.
What?
Look in the camera and invite them. And dare them. Dare them to come on the, we dare you to come on the show and put up with this guy.
Sheesh.
2 dream guests. No limits.
No limits.
Anybody. I mean, I guess the limit is they have to be alive. But
Sure.
What about you? Yeah, I dare you. I dare you to look at the camera
Okay.
and invite 2 people.
Okay. Governor Polis, the governor of Colorado, we deeply appreciate how you've stood strong for the churches in through COVID and all of that stuff. I pray for you personally. I'd love to have you on the show, or we could bring it to you, and we'll live with whatever restrictions you put on us. Give us 20 minutes. We'll come and set up. You can walk in the room. Give us 20 minutes. Walk back out. But I would love to have you on the show, Governor. So if anybody knows Governor Polis, please send him this episode or send him this clip, and we'll do whatever we can to make it as easy as possible for you to come on the show. Okay, that's one.
That's one. Mr. Chuck Norris. I'm serious. We would love to have you on the show to talk about your journey and your life and your faith. And yes, we would. I personally, Michael Orphan, inviting you, my hero, Chuck Norris, to come on the show. The guy's a legend, man.
He's a
I'm telling
legend.
you.
He is too.
Okay, that's my one.
Jeez.
What? I was thinking more like, okay, listen.
We're all
Hear
ears.
me out.
Hear me
This is gonna get kind of dark.
Wow.
No, I want someone that's, I don't obviously personally know them, but someone that's like in Afghanistan right now that is leading like a church. Like
Yeah,
that is
brilliant.
just, yeah, like I would love to have someone just like talk about right now, like what they're going through, and just like, so, hey, if you find this video, but I mean, I think
It could be challenging, but we
Yeah,
could do it.
no.
We could do it online or over the internet or something,
Skype
and,
it or something.
and blank out faces, whatever
No,
needs to
yeah.
happen. Because
I think that would just be so crazy just to hear about just like what these people, the depths and the lengths they're going to for the gospel.
Yeah.
So
Jeez. Way to take
Absolutely.
it super spiritual.
Yeah,
yeah,
Absolutely.
So gotta keep you guys back on the focus.
absolutely.
Just kidding.
No, I agree.
But
And to be clear, Mr. Norris is totally on focus. Okay.
Okay. I don't know him.
That is a
personally,
real
so-
person to get real conversation
Sorry,
with.
Chuck, if I've offended you, but I just.
Yeah, as long as that's not the episode we choose to throw blows in, we'll be doing it
Oh
all.
my goodness, that'd be fun.
Okay, who's my number 2? Listen, I would love to have any and we tried this with a guy. I would love to have an MMA fighter on here that's a believer. Because I think there's some parallels between living in a world that's aggressive as a believer and like we've spoken about here, like what is that like to live out
In this aggressive world.
your Christian faith in
Yeah.
what is becoming more and more aggressive towards Christianity. I think there would be a lot of parallels there, you know. So if anybody knows an MMA guy that is a believer, again, we'd love to have you on the show. And again, we'll make it as easy as possible for you. You know, I know there's a huge MMA community here in Denver, and love to have you on. Come on.
All my guys are film guys.
Good.
That's what I'm trying to.
Good.
My brain's trying to branch out, but I'm just like Shatner. I want William Shatner.
Go on, Christine, who else?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about all of our friends. I mean, I did bring up having more like ladies with a powerful voice.
Okay, give us some names.
Dude,
Come on.
just kidding. Let's see here.
Bring
I know
all your
he's-
friends on here.
Dude, I will.
Let's do it. Let's give Michael. Let's give
All my
Michael a
buddies.
stress headache by having him have to
Oh,
mic 15
goodness.
people all at the
Oh,
same
yeah.
time.
No, that'll be
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
No.
We'll title that episode "Garbage." It sounds bad. It looks bad.
It's just a mess.
We've lost everything good these people have to say.
That's so funny. I don't know. I'm just thinking like about a list of like powerhouse women that are just, I mean, in partnership with us. I mean, I'm thinking about like Kanisha and Olivia, my loves. Even like Minda Nichols and
Wow. Yeah.
Cindy Booth, like Cindy Booth and Debs.
I'd have to have a Red Bull on the way into the studio.
That's what I want to see. I want to see these powerhouse, like full of faith, like women here.
And you know,
Just like us.
we do have Terry Barr coming.
Yeah, we have heaps.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. That's interesting.
The smoke coming out your ears.
Yeah,
You're thinking.
no,
You're dreaming. Look at you.
Yeah.
What I would love to see from I don't know how this works, is you sitting with being a father that's raised godly children in a godly way. I'd love to see Blue and Blaze and what they've faced in this time in our nation, what their thoughts are and how they're working it out, being raised in a Christian home.
Okay. Blue and Blaze. Your mom challenges you to come on the show. Get strapped up with one of these things and see if you can answer my
I will
questions.
not be there for that one. Just kidding.
I do think that's a great idea.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Because I think parenting in these times has become such a big deal as well. Come on, Michael, close us out. You have to have a real name. A real name.
Something
of a,
fun, please.
of
Shatner's a real name.
No, man. come
I don't
on.
even know what that is.
There's a-
I don't know if you should cut that. I don't know.
I'm not, so everybody knows what I have to deal with you. I don't know who William Shatner
There's
is.
a generation gap right there, right?
I don't know.
I'm done.
I don't watch TV.
I'm done.
I'm
Look
out.
at him. He's walking off the
can't.
set.
I don't know.
Well, again, I do deeply appreciate you guys, man, and good luck editing this, Michael. But yeah, man, let's be in faith for some real conversations for next season, and trust that God can use this as He has this past season, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thanks, guys. Probably what were we saying? Like,
No, don't even give a date.
don't give a
'Cause then
date.
we won't.
Okay.
Just
Not
be on the
soon.
edge of your seat.
It'll be soon.
Just be ready.
It'll be soon.
But anyway, thanks again, man. Thanks for your support. Thanks for all the likes, the follows, the comments over this last season. We do appreciate you guys checking us out, tuning in. Continue to do that. We might, over the little while, repost some stuff in case you've missed it. Some of the episodes that we've mentioned here. But look forward to the season launch later this year. So thanks again, and let's talk soon.